You're on a 12-hour flight with Bible characters. What's your seat number? I saw that question going around, and I didn't have to think twice. Seat 2, right between Daniel and King Nebuchadnezzar. And before you assume I picked that seat for the drama, I didn't. I picked it because those two men are sitting on either side of a conversation I've been having with God for a while now. But before I tell you why, let me tell you the one seat I am definitely not taking. Seat 6. That's King David and Uriah, sitting together for 12 hours. No, not me, not today. Because that man took Uriah's wife, sent Uriah to the front line himself, and basically signed his own friend's death certificate. And now I'm supposed to believe they're just going to sit there making small talk about turbulence? So, how's the family, David? No, I am not refereeing that. I do not have the anointing for that kind of tension. Some seats are for growth. Seat 6 is for witness protection. But jokes aside, that's actually part of why I love this exercise. Because even in the humor, there's a real reminder. Our choices have weight. David's sin didn't just cost him peace. It cost a man his life. And it put two people in a story that never should have existed. That's sobering when you sit with it for more than a second. So yes, me and seat 6, not friends. But seat 2, that one I chose on purpose. 12 hours is a long time to sit with yourself. And sometimes God uses long stretches, long seasons, to sit you down right next to the very lessons you've been avoiding. So let me tell you why I chose that seat. On my left is King Nebuchadnezzar, one of the most powerful rulers in human history, builder of Babylon, commander of armies, a man who looked at everything he had built and said, "Is this not great Babylon, which I have built?" I built this. And honestly, I'm not here to judge him because I've been there too. Maybe not with a kingdom, but with a project, a launch. A moment where something worked and I felt that quiet pull to take a little too much credit, to slowly write God out of a story he was the one authoring. That's the thing about success. It can become a quiet thief, not of your money, not of your time, of your memory. You start forgetting how you got here, who opened the door, who gave you the idea at 2 a.m, who covered you when you almost quit. Nebuchadnezzar forgot. And God, in his mercy and not his anger, reminded him. 7 years in the wilderness, eating grass like an animal, until his hair grew long like feathers and his nails like claws. But that's not a punishment story. That's a love story. Because when it was over, when humility finally came home, the king lifted his eyes to heaven and everything was restored to him. Every single thing. God doesn't break us to leave us broken. He breaks the pride so the real person underneath can finally breathe. I want to sit next to that king on this flight and just ask him, at what point did it shift? When did the throne start feeling like it belonged to you instead of feeling like a gift? Because that's a question worth 12 hours. And on my right is Daniel. If Nebuchadnezzar is the cautionary tale wrapped in redemption, Daniel is the aspiration. Here is a man who was taken from everything he knew, his home, his language, even his name. They tried to reprogram him completely, and yet he remained himself. Not stubbornly, not loudly, just consistently. He prayed 3 times a day when it was legal. He prayed 3 times a day when it became illegal. The lions didn't change his schedule. I think about that a lot. How many of us only pray when it's convenient, when life feels threatening? But Daniel had already built the habit long before the crisis ever came. So when the den opened, he walked in with a prayer life, not a panic. And what gets me most is this. Daniel stayed relevant across multiple kingdoms. Nebuchadnezzar, Belshazzar, Darius, Cyrus, 4 different kings, shifting power, total political chaos, and Daniel was still standing, still trusted, still called on, because integrity doesn't need a friendly administration to survive. Wisdom doesn't expire just because the season changes. That's what I want. Not just success in one chapter of my life, but faithfulness across all of them. To be just as grounded in obscurity as I am in influence. Just as steady in the waiting room as I am on the platform. Daniel had influence on earth and access to heaven. He was strategic and spiritual, relevant and righteous. He never had to choose between being excellent at his work and being close to God. He showed us you can be both. I want to spend 12 hours learning how he did that. Here's the honest part. I'm building something right now, and there are moments, good moments, breakthrough moments, where I feel that same pull Nebuchadnezzar felt. Look what I'm doing. Look how far I've come. And then I catch myself, and I have to stop and say, no. Look what God is doing. Look how far He has brought me. That's not false humility. That's not something I'm saying to sound spiritual. That's survival. Because the moment I start believing the story is about me, I've already started walking toward the wilderness. And on the other side of that, I want Daniel's consistency, his unshakable steadiness, his even if he does not kind of faith, that posture of trusting God before you ever see the outcome. That's the combination that changes everything. Nebuchadnezzar's humility plus Daniel's consistency equals a life God can actually work with. So, seat 2, between a humbled king and a faithful prophet, learning when to bow, when to stand, and always, always remembering who gets the glory. If you had to pick a seat on this flight, I want to know. Tell me who you'd sit next to and who you'd avoid, like I avoided seat 6, because I think your answer might reveal something about exactly where you are in your season right now. And if this met you somewhere today, share it with somebody. Sometimes the sermon we need is hiding inside a silly trend. I love you, Jules. Keep your crown on. Keep your eyes up. And remember, the King of Kings always gets the glory.
This is the time of your life.